At school, I found a copy pasta about a guy coming on birds.
What?
I can find it. Hold up. Oh no, that's coming into coconut. My bad. I used to masturbate on birds. Here it is.
What the fuck?
I used to masturbate onto birds at a local park. Another thing I'm particularly proud of, but I became quite good at it. I was taking zinc supplements, so I was shooting massive loads, and it became something of a sport to me. For anyone interested, here's your best strategy. First, you need to find a isolated spot so you don't become a sex offender. I found a short kind of a channel area where I saw the pigeons would congregate. Next, you arouse yourself. I was usually content with envisioning the occasional joggy lady coming over and taking a shit on my chest.
What the
That was
fuck?
enough to fuel the fire. But if you're not as sexually charged as me, just take some porn on the go. After you're good and horny, you get some bread. My pigeons preferred white bread, but healthier birds might have a taste for honey wheat, or maybe even multigrain. Fat and healthy birds are slower and easier to hit, so remember that. Once you are seated on the bench and ready to do the deed, whip your rousselet out and scatter bread out within a few feet of you. Use your judgment based on how far you know you can come. I was a lonely and depraved soul who couldn't hit targets the size could hit targets the size of a thimble at a distance up to 4 feet. You wait for the pigeons to begin eating and then get comfortable with your presence. At this point, you want to coo and gently talk sensually to them to gain their trust. Now, you're finally ready to come on your bird. This is a rough part because the rapid motion of masturbation is very frightening to the birds. So you have to be subtle. Once you master the technique, you simply wind it up and let it go. Aiming, depending on your past coming experience. I always came high, so aim for the neck of the bird and catch it right in the face. It's an extremely satisfying and erotic feeling. Seeing those birds reel around, covered in cum, and maybe even transporting it to other places in the city. Either way, I haven't done it in years, but every now and then I catch myself gazing wistfully at a flock of birds, cock throbbing anyway for them to land close to me.
What the fuck?
I do have another one that's actually like pretty disgusting at the end. Alright, want me to read it to you?
Yeah.
Actually, okay.
Content.
Today I fucked up by coming into a coconut.
What?
Anyway, around 8 years back, I lived in northern, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce that, Mozambique, a coastal southern Africa country with quite a warm climate. My mother at the time was going through a health nut phase and only buying food she deemed healthy enough. One of these was coconuts. She would buy several coconuts at a week to use in food from the local market. Anyway, being a horny teenager, I fapped on regular intervals. Unfortunately, there was some severe stressful examinations coming up for me, and such as my fapping reached a higher peak than usual, and I was feeling pretty sexually frustrated. One day, I hear that my mother is going to be out for pretty much the entire afternoon. Horny me decides it would be a fantastic idea to fuck a coconut. Honestly, to this day, I can't fathom why I thought that would be a good idea, but my train of thought back then was clearly somewhat clogged. I end up grabbing the coconut drill, and through 20-ish minutes of concrete effort, and end up creating a large hole, that hole large enough for me to stick my porker in. I decide it requires some lube and grab the nearest slippery thing. Some fucking butter. Before shoving it into the coconut, I fall shortly by my meat. I fuck the coconut and it clearly feels pretty damn good, so I blow my load. Shove the coconut under my bed and continue my day. Above my day. Alright? For the next week, the coconut is my savior. whenever I want to get off, I simply take it out and fuck it. In it, it's delightfully tight hole, made better each time by accumulating volumes of my semen and butter, acting as a lubricant. It's heaven. Now, before I continue, I'd best mention that at the time, our area was experiencing quite humid, muggy weather, which exacerbated an already existing fly problem. Disgustingly fat, bloated flies were commonly found around our house, and the experimenters who couldn't really do anything because it was a localized area problem that would go away in the winter. About a week and a bit after the initial coconut fuck, I had been using it pretty much every day since then. I began to notice a few more flies than usual, as well as an odd, unpleasant smell about my room. Must be the coconut, right? So I decided I'll fuck it once more before I throw it out and get a new one. Now, worst mistake I've ever made. You see, the reason for the increased number of flies was that the coconut was evidently, in hindsight, a nearly perfect place to lay eggs. As I penetrate the coconut one last time, I begin to feel a strange wriggling sensation.
Stop!
I pull my cock out to discover that it's covered in rotten and moldy butter and semen, and teeming with tiny fucking maggots. They were wriggling all over my dickhead, and some of them trying to force their way out into my urethra. I screamed and threw the coconut against the wall, which made the situation worse by spilling the contents. Hours of vigorous cock scrubbing, vomiting, and cleaning the remnants were spent reflecting on what the fuck I was doing with my life. Never again. Here we are. Don't fuck coconuts.
I'm gonna cry.
Now, for the last one.
Last one. What if more?
Stop. Arthur's copy pasta. Oh shit! Dad found the cum fish.
What the fuck?
Now hold on, let's just eat some peanuts. Hold up. Yeah, hold on. Alright. When I was about 13, I think I went fishing with my dad. I caught a fish, and I was really happy about it. And I just feel like I had a connection with the fish. And it just felt very nice in my hands. And you know, I felt like it was chosen for me. So when my dad told me to throw the fish back in the water, I couldn't do it. I was a stupid little kid, so I threw a rock in the water pretending it was a fish. And I shoved the fish down my trousers. A fellow British person. And this fish was not bigger than my dick. When it's hard, but it was in there. And the fish, it was warm as we were going home. So I just remember when I was like getting a boner. Fuck, let me try. I was going home. Yeah, when I was going home, and my dad was speaking to me, and like I tried to shift the focus away from the warm fish. I could kind of feel the fish shaking and dying on my dick, and it was giving me not like a blowjob, but its last moments were. Fuck me, I just fucked up. Oh my god. Like there was like a blowjob, but its last moments were on my dick, and it felt really special to me, even though it was weird. And then I remember getting home, quickly going to my room, and I lied down and I got naked. And I remember taking my zip down, saw the fish covered in cum. That one moment, I just felt amazing to me. The warmth of the fish, and it was still kind of shaking, like its nerves were going off, and I just felt so good, and I didn't want to let this fish go because I felt like I was responsible for the fish. And so I cleaned up the cum, I cleaned them myself, and I'd keep it in the freezer in my room. And whenever I get horny and stuff, I'd use the fish to like masturbate, and I come all over it again and again and again for almost weeks, until the fish was smelling up the house, and my dad would know, kinda that something's going on with me, and he could tell from the smell, and he looked at my mini fridge and he saw the fish. And remember making up a lie that it wasn't my fish, that my friend gave it to me and it's some kind of prank or whatever. And my dad kinda looking at me disgusted, and I had to get rid of the fish, which was obviously sad and affects me because I can't speak to my dad without thinking about the fish. And what's even worse is that I can't jack off without thinking about the fish, and porn doesn't do it for me anymore. There's no fish related stuff, nothing. I don't even like fish that much. I prefer steak, medium rare, but the fish, something about it. Whenever I jack off, I kind of feel like the fish. I'll never forget the feeling of it dying on my dick while I cummed on it.
What the fuck?
That's it. Yeah, I found one 9 hours ago. Ooh, Allah, this is a fresh one.
Voila, this is a fresh one.
Jerked off in front of my friend.
What the fuck?
When I was in high school, I had this friend who would talk a lot about sex. He'd point out every cute girl we'd see and say how he looked to duck her brains out. This turned me on, so eventually I started doing the same. When we would hang out and play COD, we'd lock the door and whisper ways like we'll fuck the shit out of the girls and teachers in my class. God, this penis are killing me. Just after a while of this, we wrote sex stories to each other about the other person fucking a girl of their choice. We were pretty open about secret stuff with each other, sex stuff with each other. So we agreed it was cool if the other person used the stories when jerking off. After a couple of weeks of sending stories back and forth, we hung up, and me never seeing another man's penis in person, I posted the question if we could go in the bathroom and compare. We went into the bathroom. On the count of 3, we pulled down our pants and turned around. I was around average for my age. I cannot read. I was around average for my age, maybe a little small at 4 inches, but he was hung and had this thick, long 6-inch cock. I was super turned on.
What the fuck?
Then we tucked our bones in our pants, then left to go to the bathroom. Next time we hung out, I asked him if it was cool if we jerked off while the other person said their story. My friend agreed, so I lied down on the bed and slowly stroked as he describes the way I'd fuck the hottest girl in class. This turned me on so fucking much, I busted a bit harder than I ever had in my life up to that point. I said his story and he seemed to enjoy it as much. We did this a couple of times. Then I asked if he wanted to jerk off next to each other while watching some porn. He thought it could be fun, so he agreed. We sat down next to each other and started pounding our dicks while stealing glances at the other person. I wanted to grab his dick so bad and just give it to him, but I wasn't sure if he liked that. I was so horny after that, just the minute I'd done my whole load and audibly moaned. Then he lasted another minute or two, then did the same. We cleaned up and went back to playing games. We continued stories for a while after that, but eventually he stopped enjoying it and we ended it. The best part of it was we told each other our kinks, so we'd write tailored stories for each other that were better than any porn we'd saw. I'm not a gay guy and was just kind of horny, possibly bi, curious, but that was a while ago. Anyways, thank you for reading my story and feel free to DM me if you want to chat.
I don't know how to feel about that, man. I don't know how to feel about that guy.
I'm sorry for scarring y'all.